question for me is, why is it so difficult to disentangle what's beautiful in the world with what's also horrifying and terrifying? I investigate Black religious thought, right? My research is in Black religious thought, which means for me, I think about Black religion as a set of practices, discourses, ideas through literature, through critical theory, through philosophy, and increasingly through film, right? And in doing that, I try to think beyond certain kind of rigid distinctions like religion and secular, or religious and secular, or sacred and profane. Right? So my current project is a hip-hop and religion project. Right? So hip-hop studies, obviously, has been something that's been kind of underway. Say in the last 10, 12 years, scholars have been trying to investigate, right, the intersection of hip-hop and religion. Right? People like Anthony Pinn, Monica Miller, Ebony Utley. And so what I'm interested in is how hip-hop almost forces us to rethink certain kind of categories, particularly, right, the sacred and the profane. So often we think of the sacred as some pure space, right? We try to protect sacred space or sacred ideas from being, desecrated in some way or transgressed in some way. And what I want to suggest is with hip-hop, you get a notion of sacred that's all about the impure, right? That's all about incoherence and all about, to some extent, unsettling us in some way, right? So it brings together the beauty and the horrifying. To some extent, the profane is often seen as, that which is obscene in some way, right? And not that I would suggest that Two Live Crew's lyrics are always, right, sacred or right, in a way that I'm thinking about it, but there's certainly something about Two Live Crew, right, about the lyrics, right, that certainly unsettles us and certainly unsettles spaces that are uncomfortable at talking about sex and sexuality, right? Now, maybe the way that they talk about these things I might find problematic, right? But at least it opens up into a discussion about the erotic, right? In ways that are often separated from religion, separated from the sacred. And for me, not always, but for me, there's something about hip hop that forces us to think at the intersection of some of these things. So the Department of African and Afro-American Studies is a special place for me for many reasons. I think one, right now, there's just so much energy around black studies. There's so many, for me, fascinating conversations around hip hop, popular culture, film, intersectionality, race, gender, sexuality, conversations around optimism versus pessimism, right? Futurity. I think that there's a way in which people are going back and rereading certain authors differently, whether it's Du Bois or complicating the canon, right? Not starting with Du Bois, right? Zora Neale Hurston and so forth, right? So I think for me, it's just a lot of energy right now. I think what's also interesting is that energy, you have to think about that energy in conversation with ongoing, right, forms of racism, anti-Black violence, and so forth, right? The kinds of disappointed hopes around, right, the first Black president, right? The kinds of, right, for some people, just despair, disappointment around the current political situation. I think those tensions, right? I think those tensions between this energy around, not discourse in the academy, but also, black culture and Black aesthetics, whether it's hip hop, whether it's Queen Sugar, whether it's Insecure, right? The kind of Black cultural practices, visual practices that in many ways are connecting the academy, right, to the world outside of the academy, if we can make that distinction. So, if anything, I think I want to just reiterate and underscore the importance of African and Afro-American studies, right, as itself always already connected to other discourses, but within African American studies, right, having this kind of multiplicity, right, that having different different approaches and different disciplines, right. I think at any moment that's really important, right, those kinds of conversations, and I think it's just a really place to learn and think outside of the box in certain ways. Yeah.